G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. Today, I'm going to be going over my tips for round 18 of the 2024 AFL season. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you do going to enjoy today's video. And as always, let's kick it off with how it went last week. Okay, so my tips from round 17, not the greatest week for myself, only got a 4 out of 9 in the end. It was a round full of upsets and a few 50-50s that I weren't able to get on the right side of. We went with the Pies against the Dons, but I've been bullish on Essendon pretty much all year long. I tipped them against the Cats, and I got that tip incorrect. So I go against the grain against the Dons and get it wrong. But yeah, Essendon just won that game more. Terrific win back on Friday night. Backed in Gold Coast, just felt I've got to finally get that win away from home. They weren't able to. North's young stars really shone through. The Doggies, how about that? Just got burnt alive by those Port Adelaide midfielders. When they're at their best, they are a hard side to beat. Port, and they got a terrific win. The Cats at home, I backed them in and they got the job done. The Blues, they had a terrific start once again, just like against the Swans, but just capitulated after quarter time as the Giants keep their season alive. Looked excellent. The Dockers over the Tigers, pretty straightforward tip. Demons over the Eagles. One of the upsets of the year with the Saints, played some pretty spirited footy in that second half to overcome the Swans. I think they kicked a period of 9 goals straight throughout that third and fourth quarter. And then the Lions against the Crows got the job done there, so 4 out of 9. Okay, a quick update on my 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐿 tipping competition. Nobody in the comp did get themselves a full 9 out of 9, which is probably fair enough given that there were a number of upsets throughout the round. A few people were pretty close though, but as for who is leading my competition, it still is ESPN Footy Tips user with a total score of 123. Let's now begin our tips for round 18. We start on Friday night, another Pies game here, and this time they are taking on the Geelong Football Club at the MCG. And now we look at Collingwood. They are in a bit of a vulnerable position. They had a good chance to push into the top 4 should have they beaten Essendon last week, but now currently sitting in 9th place. If they drop this game here against the Cats, it's going to be some danger signs now starting to be shown for the Pies, you must say. Credit to Geelong though, the last month's form has been fantastic. They've now won the past 2 games after just a bit of a mid-season slump. They've been able to bring back their strong cohesion and I think just their pressure as well. They've also been a lot more of a competitive side in the midfield. Tom Stewart moving into the guts has been a good decision by Chris Scott. He's been able to win a lot of contested ball and also float behind the contest and take those important intercept grabs. Sam de Koning as a full-time ruck has been great the last few weeks. Jack Bowes is in some fine form too. And forward of the ball, they are getting a lot of options. Tyson Stengel, Brad Close, also Jeremy Cameron. And with how the Cats play, they can be a damaging team from the forward half and also move the ball really well. And when you're looking at Collingwood's defence, this could be a game where the Cats could really carve up the Pies, because just this lack of energy for Collingwood's been the biggest concern. I think Craig McRae did say that in his presses. Just defensively cut apart. The absence of Murphy's just showing even more now. There are a chance apparently to get Jamie Elliott into this game coming off an injury, so he'll be huge inclusion for sure. So I think with how the Cats are going at the moment, the Pies are vulnerable, especially defensively, and the midfield, it feels like it's Dacos or bust. So with how things are going, I'm expecting the Cats to get up here, but there's something just about Collingwood that tells me they can't die out. They're a team that plays with a lot of high energy. They haven't been able to the last few weeks and in a few of their losses, and I can't really see them capitulating down the bottom of the ladder. So their best is good enough. I'm sensing a bit of a bounce back for the Pies, so I'll go with Collingwood in this one. The Cats could pip them quite well, but I'll back in Collingwood for the bounce back. So we'll go a close one. The Pies will win by 9 points. Hawthorn taking on the Dockers at UTAS Stadium. The Hawks always usually pretty good in Tassie, so that's always the first thing I notice when a game is at down there in Launceston, or Launceston, however you bloody say it. But the Dockers, you'd say, probably one of the more informed teams in the comp. Ever since that win against the Swannies, that's really improved their premiership credentials and ability to play away from home. The midfield has been in fantastic form. Brayshaw and Hayden Young were awesome last week, and then you have Sarong in there too. They can always win that hard ball. He was tagged well, to be fair, last week. And behind the footy, no Alex Pearce, but they have gotten back in Braden Cox, who had a pretty decent game last week in the win over the Tigers. Josh Tracy has been amazing this year, and also Stam Sterd, and there's just a number of those forwards that can really hurt you. And with how the Dockers can move the ball with that fast hand-passing style, definitely any chance to knock off any opponent in the competition at the moment. But LA Fair here against Hawthorn. A bit of a reality check loss. I don't think it was catastrophic, but given the lack of age and experience in that Hawthorn side, there's going to be plenty of good and plenty of bad about the team. But still a side I think that's mentally high morale, the Hawks. And down in Tassie, they'll definitely give Freo a run for their money here. Hawks have been able to pick up a lot of wins against the grain this year, and they've just done it off pure pressure and pure wanting it more, out ground levelled in the contest. So they've really got to win that midfield battle against a strong Fremantle midfield outfit, it must be said. Like the Hawks for this tip here, but might go with the Dockers. They're just proving to me that they can really win away from home. It's going to be a tough test, and I think they're probably the better side on paper. I've gone with the Hawks. I've gotten right. I've gone against them. It has not paid off, but I'll go with Fremantle here, and they'll get the win we'll go with the Dockers by 17. We do have the Swans taking on North Melbourne at the SCG. Well, what an interesting last 2 weeks it's been for the Swans. They've dropped their past 2 games, and both of those losses have been under a goal. The past 2 games are starting to get exposed a little bit in defence. Fremantle and also the Saints were able to work their way up the field through that high uncontested style and really pinch them off the counter. And also they've been able to punish the Swans off their mistakes. So slightly out of form, the Swans. I won't be getting 𝐼𝐿𝐴 𝐻𝐿𝐿 for this game, or at the time of recording, the appeal did fail. They'll probably appeal again, to be fair. And also I just think the important players for the Swans, like 𝐼𝐿𝐴 𝐻𝐿𝐴 𝐻𝐿𝐴, as I just said, it feels like they have been slightly out of form too. I mean, hitting the scoreboard, they've just been really inaccurate. So a side that's a little bit rusty at the moment, but I can definitely sense a bounce back given the quality of the team. But facing North Melbourne, it's going to be, I think, a tough test. These Swans and North games are always usually pretty interesting games. They're usually quite close. And the Roos, what a win it was last week. 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴, the superstar, pretty much guided them to that win. And just a few of those other younger players like Tom Powell, Nick Lark, who is very good in front of the big sticks too. Behind the footy, Combin's having a really solid year. 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴 back on the side. It was great at half back, and they'll be getting George Wardlaw into this midfield too. Of course, 𝐿𝐴's been great as well. A side that's gotten their second win of the season, going up to Sydney to play the Swans with really nothing to lose. I feel like they've got a bit of that psychological advantage, to be fair, and they're just going to throw everything they can at the Swans. So if North are able to really bring that strong ball movement and control the clearance game, they've been able to put a number on that Swannies midfield in the past few encounters from memory. There could be a chance here for the upset, like genuinely. They've been close a couple of times, so I reckon North will push them well. But the Swans at home, like they should be bouncing back here, especially against North Melbourne. They haven't been playing absolutely great, but they've still lost their games by under a kick. So they've really got to bring back their strong pressure, and that's what's let them down the past few weeks. So I think the Swans should bounce back and knock over North Melbourne here, but I think this will be a bit of a cagey affair. So we'll go the Swans by 15. Then for 4:35 PM at Marvel, we do have the Western Bulldogs taking on the Carlton Football Club. The Doggies, one of their worst losses last week. They're just so inconsistent, and it's a shame to see that, especially at the time of the season now. You can't be dropping games like that in round 17. It was a really odd display. I felt with no Liam Jones, they really struggled behind the footy without much of an intercepting prowess. But especially in the midfield, that's probably the worst I've seen the Doggies midfield play in quite some time. Just the stars of Port Adelaide's mids just ran them off their feet. They couldn't defend in defensive transition. That's what really killed them apart. They were only really doing much of the damage forward of centre, and when they were able to get a lot of ball in hand. So definitely sensing a bounce back for the Dogs. We know that they're a lot better than that. But can they bounce back against a Carlton outfit? They would be angry. Dropping that game against the Giants last week. Just really dropped off in the pressure of the Blues and couldn't get it done in the midfield. And when you beat Carlton's midfield, you can really control the game. That's what the Giants were able to do. Tom Green, Coniglio, Callum Ward had an awesome game on the weekend too. They were able to gain control of the clearances and just out-pressure the Blues at ground level and around the contest. So the Bulldogs at their best, they're one of the top sides with points from stoppage. So really got to gain ascendancy and gain control in that midfield battle against the Blues. If I feel they're any chance here. So I like the Doggies when thinking about it from that point of view, but I'm probably preferring Carlton in this one. They usually play very well at Marvel Stadium at their playpen, as I do like to call it, in these tipping videos. I think they can outdo the Dogs in the midfield, in my opinion, and for the ball, without much of those defensive players like Liam Jones. I think Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow has been out of form, but sensing a bounce back can really get on top. So don't mind the Dogs for this tip. Could be a bit of an upset. It's only 7% tipped at the time of doing this video, which is, I think, is pretty low. So Could go with the upset, but I'll go with the Blues here, and they'll win this one. Back and forth contest, I reckon, but the Blues storm home in the fourth and win it by 20 points. Saturday night footy now. First gun up, we do have the Crows taking on the Saints at the Adelaide Oval. Adelaide, a bit of a brave loss, you could say. I know the supporters won't like hearing that because they've had enough of these brave losses. It makes total sense, but getting within 2 goals of the Lions is not bad at all. I feel like if Adelaide do win games, it's because of how they can move the ball end to end. And can they really get that contested game up like they were able to do to the Giants 2 weeks ago? Just obliterated them in the contest. There's going to be no Isaac Rankin for the Crows for the next 4 weeks. And I tell you what, there is a significant difference when he plays and when he does not play. So that's going to really hurt them. He's that guy that can always give them a bit of a spark, a bit of creativity forward of the ball. So his absence is really going to hurt. And the Saints, one of their best wins of the season last week against the Swans, just got the game on their terms. You know, that uncontested style, just outdoing the Swans at ground level in the contest. Those are areas where the Saints can play some strong footy and really outrun their opponents in transition. So they played Port Adelaide, I felt, quite well last time out when they did play at the Adelaide Oval. So I like them here for a sneaky tip. But the last 2 weeks, the Crows' form, I feel like, has been a little bit better. And a bounce back here I'm sensing, especially because it is at the Adelaide Oval. So we'll go with the Crows in this one. Don't mind the Saints for the tip. But I think Adelaide, especially at home, if they can really get that contested style going and just outdo the Saints in transition, I think the Crows will get up here. So Adelaide, go for them, but I'm feeling this one could be close, so we'll go the Crows by 10 points. Then the other Saturday night game, we do have the Demons taking on the Dons at the MCG. When you look at Melbourne, personnel issues, left, front and centre. No Max Gawn, still no Petrarca. Going to be a lot of issues, and it's going to be now telling tale on how can Melbourne go without these core star players. We always talk about what Melbourne look like without Oliver, Petrarca and Gawn playing. Well, no Petrarca and Gawn. It's going to be a big test against Essendon, who probably had one of their best wins of the season last week. Just simply wanted it more than the Pies in that win back on Friday night. They were able to give Collingwood a taste of their own medicine because they were able to move the ball end to end really well. They gained ascendancy in the midfield. Zach Merritt was awesome last week. Jared Caldwell, what a season he's having too. And forward of the ball, so many contributors. Harry Jones working up high up the ground and also able to hit the scoreboard, was showing great 1%ers. Peter Wright was great in the air. Langford kicked a couple. They've got a lot of contributors in that forward half. And looking at Melbourne, they did bounce back and get that win against the Eagles. They looked very good, but how will they go here against the stronger outfit of Essendon? That's going to be a big question looking at them. But the last 2 weeks, to Melbourne's credit, they've been a bit of a better side in the midfield. That loss against Brisbane, they were able to beat the Lions throughout quarters, throughout periods of that game in the clearances. So if they can smack the Bombers here in the midfield, I do like them for maybe a sneaky win here, but still have questions with no Gawn and no Petrarca. And Essendon, with that win last week, that just gives me that hope and that sort of confidence that they should be finishing and hopefully finishing the season well here. So I like the Bombers. They're the better form team, I feel. So we'll back in the Bombers here with them winning this game by 16. Move on now to the Sunday games. First one up, we do have Gold Coast taking on Port Adelaide at People's First Stadium. Now this one is a very intriguing tip because Gold Coast are yet to lose at home this year, but when you look at Port Adelaide, their record against Gold Coast is probably the best out of any other side. They have a very, very good record against the Suns. They always just seem to knock them off. But what Port Adelaide are we going to get? Are we going to get the Port Adelaide that can't move the ball, that struggle defensively, that can't hit targets, that get exposed one-on-one? Are we going to get the Port Adelaide where their midfield just gets on fire? Rosie, Butters, Horn, Francis, Wines, all of them contribute and all of them dominate. I just don't know. I feel like away from home, though, those positives of Port Adelaide do get hindered a little bit. And Gold Coast at home have been awesome this year, yet to drop a game. They lose against North Melbourne, but then the next week, I guarantee they play much better footy. Probably their issue, the Suns, is their cohesion inside 50, though. They can get a lot of inside 50s, but they can waste it a little bit. So if Port Adelaide are a chance here, they've got to really rebound from their defensive 50 really well. That's what happens when Port are up and about. They can be a strong ball-moving side and be able to lock it well in their forward half. And as we said just then, their midfield is really good on top. And with no 𝐼𝐶𝐞 𝐿𝐼𝐿, this is a chance for Port Adelaide to gain some ascendancy around the footy. And as saying before, they've got a good record over the Suns here. I like the Port Adelaide tip. I do like it. And they still got to be fighting for finals in my eyes, Port. So, geez, backing in Port Adelaide this year has not paid off because then they've played some awful footy. So what Port Adelaide are we going to get? I'll go with them though. That win does give me a little bit of confidence. So they've got to really back it up, their performance and their win from last week. So the Suns, very good at home this year. They could probably knock off Port, but I'm liking the pair in this one. So I go Port Adelaide to win this one by 14 points. Then for Sunday prime time, we do have the Tigers taking on the Giants at the MCG. Richmond, very disappointing outing it was last week against the Dockers. They just couldn't score. Simple as that. It felt like 𝐼𝐿𝐴 and Taranto are carrying the sides on their backs. Yeah, it's just been a bit of a bleak year for the Tigers. But at home, at the MCG, this is the venue that I can always see the Tigers pulling out a bit of an upset win or a very close and competitive game. So they're going to be good. They're going to be bad throughout patches throughout the remainder of the year, I think, the Tigers. But I like them here, and they always can play some good footy against the Giants. The Giants now facing Taranto and Hopper, old teammates, of course. So I think especially for Richmond, they have been able to win games or get close in a lot of games with really gaining ascendancy in the midfield. Look at the winning luck against the Swans and a few of the close games. They win that contested game, they win the ground level game. And the Giants have been exposed in the midfield in their losses the last few weeks or so. So that's definitely going to be an arrow for the Tigers should they win. But the Giants, really good quality victory it was over the Blues. Yes, they didn't start off very ideal, but I think especially when the Giants are able to really gain a lot of pressure around the footy and get those role players involved, they are a bloody dangerous side because they've got so many contributors, so many creative players that can really do a number on you. And with the big ground of the MCG, the Giants can really, I think, get their game going from the back half. So don't mind the Tigers here, but I can't really back them in, to be honest, for a tip. I think the Giants, they're pushing for finals. They're a good quality side. I think the Tigers will push them and probably eliminate a bit of their game in and under, but I think the Giants, the quality they have, cream rises to the top, and I reckon they should win here and win it well in the end by 22 points. And now for the final game of the round, we do have West Coast taking on the Brisbane Lions at Optus Stadium. Well, news earlier today announced that Adam Simpson has finally been sacked from the Eagles. Finally, it's happened, to be fair. I think it didn't happen a few years ago because it would have been very expensive for the club to pay him out. So they had to wait and see out a bit of his contract first and then let him go. So don't know who's going to be the interim coach yet. But they were suggesting, I heard the press conference, Don Pike was suggesting, can you coach one more game? So is he going to do it? I probably doubt it, to be fair. But the Eagles, they're going to be spirited though. So they might play some good footy here at home against the Lions, even though it must be said the last few weeks has been absolutely dire. The work rate has not been good enough. They haven't been able to really just get the ball much in their forward half. They go down the other end and can see just some easy goals. So are we going to get a bit of a spirited game here from the Eagles? Are we going to get, like they've been able to show, wins against the Tigers and also the Melbourne, and just really get that Optus Stadium home ground advantage rocking? Because when they are able to move the footy well, when they are able to really win the clearance game, they can be a good side to watch. But Brisbane here, one of the more informed teams in the competition. To be fair, they do play Optus Stadium, I guess, not so great. They've had a lot of close wins there the last couple of times. So, given the venue, the Eagles could maybe be a chance here to push them for a little bit. Upset tip, though, seems a bit of a far cry. I'm not too sure. I think just Brisbane, the midfielders hitting their form. They've got a lot of seasoned bodies starting to play some really good footy. Lachie Neale, Josh Dunkley have been unbelievable. Post by and 𝐼𝐻𝐪 has been great. Andrews behind the footy's been awesome. They've got just a team with talent and 5 wins in a row at the moment. I can't see them dropping this game against the Eagles, but they might make it close, to be fair, than what we all think. But with the talent of Brisbane, they've been one of the top sides from points from turnover and also from stoppage in the middle. We'll go Brisbane with this one. They should win it well. The Eagles push them though, but Brisbane to get it done by 30 points. So overall, there are my tips for round 18 of the 2024 AFL season. What are your tips going to be for this week? Let me know down below in the comments section. Always love to hear your people's opinions. That's pretty much it from me, everybody. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you do go on to enjoy today's video. And apart from that, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.